right, today is December 5th, 2014. We are at the Sons of Norway Lodge in Fargo, North Dakota. I'm Mary Tintus. I am a League of Women Voters board member. And today we're interviewing Jane Shea and Ruth Stefanowicz, both from Fargo. Let's start with Jane. Jane, what prompted you to join the League of Women Voters? Do you remember how you were recruited?
I wasn't recruited.
Okay, how did you join?
I had been to school, my second college career, and I knew I was down at Agassiz subbing, and I knew Cheryl Watkins. Do you remember? No, you wouldn't remember Cheryl.
I don't.
And Cheryl was a member, and I wanted to get out into the community, and she belonged to League, and so I followed her to a meeting, and that meeting was they talked about ERA, and so they had me right there.
The Equal Rights Amendment.
Yes.
Okay, and what were you teaching?
History.
History. And high school?
Well, 8th grade.
8th grade.
Terrible time. And I come home and holler at my boys,
Yeah.
of whom were middle age. I mean middle teens.
Yeah, sure.
And,
Okay, so what do you remember? So you joined the League then, and when did you have your meetings?
we met in people's houses. I don't even remember what nights. I don't remember what nights.
Did you ever bring kids along? Did people have their children there?
They didn't have them there at meetings I was at. Now, they may have people with children who were having the meeting maybe,
Sure, with their own.
but I don't know.
What did the Equal Rights Amendment was the subject matter that brought you in? Do you remember?
No, actually the Equal Rights Amendment was discussed at that meeting.
Okay.
I came in,
Okay.
not with
Okay.
anything.
And what was the discussion like?
They were going, it had failed 2 years before, and they were going to attack it in a different way. The 2 years before, it was, my goodness, it must have been about 5 people, and they thought it would go through. And at that point in time, the opposition had gotten going.
Who was the opposition?
Well, Phyllis Rafferty mostly.
Did you meet her?
Oh,
Did you
yes,
see
I
her?
did. Yes, I did. Corky Reader, I, and the editor of the student newspaper at SU. And I do not remember her name, and she was very, very bright, and she knew just what she was talking about. She must have taken debate or something because she knew just how to do it. And we that was after the joint committee meeting, and she was up in the halls of the legislature, and here is the Senate, and here is the House, and there's this great big hall in which they have to come into in order to get to where they're going. So we decided we were going to capture Schlafly and occupy her so she didn't have a chance to talk to any legislators, and we did, and it was fun. And we were standing here like this, and Schlafly was here, and Herschel Ashkowitz, you remember Herschel?
Yes. Mayor of Fargo.
And he came in with another, I think it was Francis Wald, who was a big anti-ERA person, and he brought him over.
I know him well.
Oh, I suppose you do.
I knew him well.
Frank
Yes.
Wall, he's
Yes.
passed
Yeah.
away, right?
Yes,
He was a
has.
legislator from Dickinson?
Yes,
Yes.
Okay.
long time legislator.
Yes, longtime legislator, very anti.
Oh, they're anti everything. And Mrs. Schlafly turned around and kind of waved us away, and that made us kind of mad. And I can't remember what Corky said, but it was really apropos. Isn't that awful? Just blank. It's a good thing we're doing this now before everybody forgets everything.
So, Ruth, you were out in western North Dakota around that time, weren't you?
I was. And because I got my degree later in life, I was basically taking care of kids and doing those kinds of things until I got my degree. And then I joined American Association of University Women. And it actually was through them I made a visit to the legislature and started getting politically active. And heard about the League of Women Voters, and they would be involved in some of the things that AAUW was involved in. And the ERA was one of the issues. And I just had knowledge of them. I didn't belong to it. But I do know Francis Wald very well because he was in our legislative district. I ran twice against him.
Did
My
you really?
husband ran against him once.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That must have been an experience.
Oh, yeah. But very conservative community of Dickinson.
Yes, yes.
And Frank knew how to work everybody. So he was reelected over and over again.
There was one 4-year period where he was not elected, was there not?
No, Frank was elected from
He
the
was elected all the
time he
time.
started running, as far as I can remember. Yeah. There were other legislators that
Came and went.
Yeah, came and went, but
Okay.
particularly the senators. And I guess because we were out in Dickinson and there wasn't a league out there, I didn't belong there. And then I was in Bismarck for a while, and then I heard a little more about the league because they were involved there. But then I was working full time, so I didn't have time to attend very many other meetings. And then we lived up in the northwest corner of the state, and
Crosby?
actually close to Crosby, Wild Rose, North Dakota. And my husband was elected to the legislature up there.
Okay.
So I spent time at and actually I lobbied. I worked for the North Dakota Education Association, so
Okay.
I lobbied 4 sessions. So I knew a lot of the legislators. I knew who to talk to about what issue. Frank Wald, I just gave a bad time to.
You just say good morning to, yes.
Yeah, well, I'd usually say more than that, but I still stayed so that I could talk to him. And then we moved to Fargo, and through some of the women that I met, and probably through AAUW, again, I joined the league. And it was just to keep up on issues, and just to keep informed and feel like I knew people that were involved and get to know people in Fargo. So that was probably why I joined.
Going back to this transcript of Catherine Rogney, she describes arriving here in North Dakota as a newlywed and feeling like a real outsider until she found her way into a league. And she said she was looking for that kindred spirit or kindred souls, and when she walked into the house of the meeting, of the first league meeting, she said there were a whole room of kindred souls. Do you, either of you, have similar recollections of finding similar women and ideas or ideals?
I think so. I think so.
Yeah, I felt that way.
Yeah.
I felt that way, that
And there were people I knew
there
at
is-
the meeting.
there are
People.
places that you can talk about whatever's on your mind, and there are places you just kind of listen.
Don't. Yes, yes.
Every now and then I speak what I'm thinking and get myself in trouble, but I try to get along.
Do you think the league encourages that, or do you feel like you can say what you want in front of league members?
Oh, yes. Oh, heavens, yes.
'Cause varied opinions are welcomed.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And if you don't agree with me, that's fine.
Yeah, yeah.
That's fine. I mean,
But
and
I
people, well, there are many people that don't think that. I mean, if you don't agree with me, right down the line, that's it. Which is really rather dumb.
Which you don't find in the league.
No, never.
Yeah.
Were you ever, recently or in years past, did you ever attend candidate forums or legislative forums? Do you remember some things that happened at those?
There's a legislative forum up north, I think at the Newman Center, and I was asked to be the timer. And I got interested in what they were saying, so I lost track of the time, and I bring him out too soon. And as it was Jens Tenefus. Now Jens was another person that, as long as he was running, he was in. But he gave me a really, really bad time. No, it wasn't either Jens Tenefus. It was Hanson, Donald Hanson. And he was the same way. You know, come on, Don.
And I know both of those people.
Oh yes, oh yes. Yes, the wives are much, much better.
It was actually last election that I was talking about Al Carlson to some of the people in the condominium where I live, and this lady said his wife is really nice, and I said could be,
No, she is.
but not else. Yeah.
Sometimes you
Yeah.
wonder how they got together, well,
Yeah.
some of these people, but
The yin and yang,
Yeah.
perhaps.
Yeah.
probably.
Did you ever participate in a study that the league did on a particular issue?
I don't believe so.
Okay, I know there were studies that were done on water issues. There was probably some of the precursors to some of the addressing basin water issues were done back in the
Maybe
60s
maybe
and
so.
70s, I remember.
Long ago.
Yeah.
I know I wasn't.
Mhm.
I want to go back to your last question, though, about being involved in a forum, because as a candidate, I was involved in a forum.
Of course you were.
And at one candidate forum, a woman asked, do you belong to the, the women's group, National
National Organization.
National
for-
Organization
National
for Women.
Organization for Women. And I kicked myself many times after that because I just said, yes, I am. I'm a member. And I wish I would have gone on to expound on various things, because this woman's granddaughter was in the aviation program in Grand Forks.
Yes.
And I should have told her, yes, and thanks to that organization,
And
your
other
granddaughter now
organizations,
has
yes.
the opportunity to be involved in
Yes.
aviation, because there were so many things. But this woman that asked the question was Frank Wald's mother-in-law.
Well, of course.
So she had to put that on the record.
Oh,
Yeah.
of course. What do you think, where do you see the league's role in today's world, or going forward from here? And how has that changed? I know in Catherine's words, she talks a lot about women not having a voice back in the day when it was starting, and of course we
Yes.
all know that. And certainly that has improved, but it isn't over. I mean, the battle isn't over by any means. But how do you see those changes, and where do you think current members might best put their strengths?
You know, when a question of importance, women's groups seem to gather together. I mean, just
As your number one.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
When there isn't, they seem to each go their own way. But it's kind of like we're there if you need us.
I really appreciated in this last election the piece that was put together on the measures that the league did. They did a wonderful job on it, and that's something I think we need to thank them very much
Yes.
for, because a lot of those issues were bad for North Dakota. And I think they did a wonderful job just getting the information out there.
When I was out in Bismarck lobbying, and I'm a member now too, I would tailor my what what do you belong to? And if they were real anti, then I would say, well, I'm a leaguer. I'm a league of women voters. Because that seemed to be much more calming than to say you belong to now.
Yeah.
Frank Wald, I told him.
Yeah.
But you know, that kind of thing. And I think it helped.
Yeah.
So we have to still kind of walk that line a little bit?
Not so much, but
Not
yeah,
so much.
yeah,
And I think a lot of people look at the league as being an educational group.
yes.
Not for or against issues, but an educational group, and I think that that helps.
Yes. Well, it's for, you know, for ERA and some of the
yeah.
other forward things.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah.
The other thing that I liked that the league did, and I'm really sorry that it didn't work out, was on the issue of defining, getting a committee to choose the districts rather than having it done by the majority party, because that is the gerrymandering that has gone
yes.
on in that area is so bad.
I
And
was
it's
a
gonna get
committee
worse.
person back in the day too. When I do something, I do well, I guess. And it must have been 1980. And Corsmo, what was his first name? John. I came from 44, which was all up and down this side of east of Broadway, and we gave the topmost part, the so-called country club, North Country Club, to 45, and they gave us the down, which was
Downtown area?
next to the downtown area, yes. And they wanted to get rid of, we wanted to get rid of Tom Matchy, and they wanted to get rid of, I don't know, and they did. We got rid of Tom Matchy. However, we didn't foresee Kit Sherber came from down in that area, and so Kit Sherber won. But it was very interesting watching the mechanizations go on, you know, within the committees, within
So
the inner circle.
They actually let you have a say in that?
If I wanted to.
Oh, really?
They didn't do anything mostly,
Okay.
but actually what I was there was to see what was going on.
Okay.
But it was very interesting.
It's become fairly closed door, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Yes, oh yeah.
Yeah, in fact, decided before they ever meet, I think.
Oh yeah. It's decided
Yeah.
over
What do you-
coffee.
What do you think about the voter ID changes that have occurred in North Dakota?
I guess I don't think of, you know, yes or no, because we've always been so free. We're the only state in the union that doesn't have, you know, registration, etc. So, you know, you go to other states and you have a process to go through.
From what I'm understanding, Minnesota actually has practically what we have. I mean, you can register on election day.
Yeah.
And basically, that's what we're doing. When you go in and give your name, and if you got your identification, if you're not in the system, you get in the system. But I think it disturbed me a whole lot that they had it aimed at certain groups.
Oh,
And
yes.
it was
Oh, yes.
college students,
and older
Native
people.
Americans and the elderly.
Yeah.
That they, you know, okay, you've got to take this extra little step before you can vote. And during the primary, the nursing homes weren't even aware of it. They didn't have the stuff to do what they needed to do.
Neither party.
I don't think so. I mean, the nursing homes had to get it information from the Secretary of State. And I don't know if they just ignored it or what, but they had to be pushed to get it. And I know that when I went to the meetings dealing with those that work for the elections, it wasn't emphasized very much at all until the general election. Finally, then it sounded like they had been out there getting that information out.
Do you think the league has a role in improving that or helping to educate more?
I think that would be good. I think that would be good because there were a lot of things that actually the Secretary of State did on his own in putting out that information that wasn't necessarily included in the legislative information. Like the very first piece that came out said you had to have a valid driver's license. Well, I mean, I have a friend that is retired and has a driver's license, but she is no longer driving, so she hasn't renewed it. And that should have been acceptable. But they were pushing that you had to have it renewed and it had to be valid in the primary.
They kept saying you have to have your right address.
Yes.
And we moved 3 years ago, and I made sure that I went down and changed my address and marked it. My husband just did not. He had other things to do, I guess. And we went to vote. They accepted mine, and they accepted Mark's.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Well,
Now, I don't know if that was just the person that we, whose line we were in.
yeah. I think they got a little more accommodating as the time went on. I think they, when they started out, because they had been told this is the way
Yeah.
it should be.
Yeah.
And as it, as people were putting up a fuss about it, they were being a little more accommodating. But I live in a condominium where there are several people who had moved during the time before the election, and they, even though I gave out a lot of information to them, they had not updated their driver's license. And so the day of the election, they were going down to the motor vehicle department and getting their licenses updated. And they did accept them after they did that, so that was good. One individual had to go vote in his old precinct, and
Yeah.
it was still in the same district, so it was okay.
So what do you hope to see? What do you hope to see coming out of this legislative session starting next year?
Well, I hope that they really do something for early childhood education. I do not like what the governor has proposed. I think it should be something that is easily available to anyone who wants to put their children in early childhood education, that they don't have to apply for a grant or something like that for the district.
Governor disappointed. His wife is pro-education, his wife is a very nice person, and I don't know where he's coming from. He's a nice person, and that's about it.
Well, he has this group that he has to work with.
Well, yes, but
In
he's still
Bismarck.
governor.
He is governor, and he has done things
Yes.
that this group has not been real pleased with.
Yeah.
But there are things that,
We always want more.
yes. And I guess that's the one issue that I intend to keep track of. And then there are several areas in the care of retired people, so that they don't necessarily have to go to a nursing home, that they can get help at home, that I'm concerned about. And Western North Dakota, and doing things out there for education, doing things for their roads, doing things and other things that the community needs right now.
Doing things about society,
Yes,
societal
Yes.
issues out there.
yes,
It's,
yes. Yeah, they have let people who want to make extra money kind of run free. And they haven't been, well, they don't have enough law enforcement
yeah,
to stop
both on the
those
state
things.
and the
Yeah,
local level, yes.
yeah.
So the league has always been known, but or always our position is always nonpartisan, and members are either party or no party affiliation or whatever, and coming together and working on consensus. What do you remember in your time as league members, that there were members of different parties that were part of the group, and that
Oh, heavens
that
sakes, yes.
helped the discussion?
Oh, yes.
What are your memories, Jane?
Well, mainly I remember ERA, and everybody wanted, everybody was working for the same thing. At that point in time, I was a Republican, and you had to be. I mean, I think there were all of 8 Democrats out there at the time. Before that specific session, there were a few more, but and it was mainly the Republicans that led the fight, which people, and I went to a NOW conference and talked to the woman that was in charge of this group of states, and she said, and this is when they were always bringing ERA up as a they were always going to rescind it. And she said, "What? How does it look?" And I said, "Well, gee, I'm real sorry we don't have the questionnaires back yet." And she said, "Questionnaires?" And I said, "Well, we always send questionnaires out to the people in the state, the legislators." She said, "Really?" And I came away from there. How did other states get? They didn't do that. They didn't talk to their legislators unless they were at unless it was like the legislature time. I mean, they had to do, somebody had to do something, but the way she sounded, because we made a lot of preparations.
So the league, in your experience, had a real dialogue going with legislators.
It was Carolyn Bowe, who has now passed away, who, as I understand it, as I remember it, now that may not be right, but that's as I remember it. She got groups together, AUW, BPW. BPW was a great help because BPW is in lots of places that don't have other groups.
Business and professional women.
Yes,
Right.
yes, I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah.
And AUW is University Women. And we met and we decided to work together. I mean, it was quite an operation. It was quite an operation that Carolyn put together.
The legislatures and the state and national level could take some lessons from that.
Oh, they certainly could. Women work together much better than men do.
Well, and I think our current women legislators will tell you that.
Yes, yes,
They talk
yes,
Regardless of.
between parties,
yes.
and even at the national level.
Yeah,
Our current Heidi Heitkamp will say that she'll work.
yeah.
She
Well, they
works
have
with-
a little,
Yeah.
organization kind of thing.
Yeah.
And they meet every so often. This is what we're doing, this is what I'm doing.
Women are problem solvers.
Yes, yes.
That's about probably.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Please go ahead and share any other memories or comments or anything that you have that either reflections on things in the past, your experiences, or things that you'd want to share with current or future members.
You go first this time.
Well, I'm not as long a time member as you, but I just feel like I have encouraged people to come just because you can learn things, you can be informed, and I just feel like,
And that's important.
yes, it is, it is. I mean, you can sit home and listen to the news and get that one little snapshot, but if you actually come to a meeting and hear somebody speak from, whichever party, a current legislator, a current school board member, it's a whole different
And
understanding.
you have the chance to ask questions.
Yes,
And
yes,
that's important.
yes, very, very important.
And I like groups in which you learn something. And Mark says, do you have to learn some more at your age? Yes, I do.
Yes, yes, yes,
Never stop learning.
always,
Yes.
yeah. I don't know, there are groups that you're gonna get deeply involved in if you go, and there are groups that you can go and participate in and not have to feel like, okay, I'm gonna have to take homework home from this. And I guess I feel like with the league, this is something I can
You
do.
can take homework home.
I can
Homework
no,
home.
Yeah, I can just go and learn.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think we've covered things, don't you, Les?
Mhm.
Thank you both so much.
I'm sure not as much as Bonnie and Lois have been along for so
Yeah.
long.
Oh, yeah. Everybody has good stories.
But you-
Everybody has good things to say.
But you've got that background, and
Yeah.
that's good.
It's,
There are fun things coming up too. Our first